Welcome to the Learning Center Library. For this section, we're going to talk about bonding the back and of the quilt and the batting together. All of the quilts that I'm going to show you today in our learning library are based on the sew and flip method. And so you're going to be sewing through the fabrics, the strips, and the back and the batting at the same time. So the only way that that really works well is to fuse the back and the batting together. This is my new friend, the 505 spray. These spray adhesives are wonderful, and you'd be really hard to do this quilt without spraying. We're going to fuse the back and the batting together so that it's one piece, and it's pretty stiff, but it works really great. The easiest way to do this is I like to tape my batting to the table. And so on the corners here, I've taped in several places, I've taped the batting down so that it doesn't move. And I try to stretch it just a little bit. Lots of times when you take your batting out of the package, there's going to be lots of creases and folds. Usually those will work out, but if you feel like they're too wrinkly, just throw them in the dryer for just a few minutes on very low heat. You don't want them very long, and I put just a little damp washcloth in with it, and then take it out of the dryer and flip it out on the floor and let it cool and rest. I don't like to use a lot of heat because it will shrink it, but just enough to relax those wrinkles, and you'll find that it works a lot better for your quilt. Okay, we're going to spread out the quilt, the blanket backing, and I try to keep them so that I just square up one corner so that you can get it all pretty even. I usually try to have the batting just a little bit bigger than the backing so that you can trim. I'd rather trim the batting off than to have it be too short. I generally like to buy my batting by the yard so that I can have it be just a little bit bigger. And you can see I've got quite a bit of extra here, which we will trim off afterwards. I'm going to get this all straight and flat. And in the best of worlds, if you have somebody else to stand and help you straighten it, that works out the very best. But on a small one, we can do it. Okay, so I'm sure you've probably all worked with contact paper. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to fold this back, and then I'm going to spray, and we're going to put the batting back down. Now I have found that if I spray the fabric rather than the batting, it works a lot better. The batting seems to, because it's so fibrous, the spray dissipates down into the batting. So you're better off to spray onto the fabric. I have tried to spray the whole thing and put it back down with some help, and that doesn't work. It's better to just spray a section, then lay it down and spread it out. Right over here. You just want to make sure your edges and everything are flat down. And then we're going to come over and you can see right where we've done it. And get this edge all straight, and then we'll right now, sometimes you'll get a little bubble or a little wrinkle, and so just lift it off and spray it again. There you go. So we've got it down just nice and straight all the way. And sometimes if the edges aren't quite tight, then I'll just spray a little bit right there. Get it all down nice and tight. So then we're going to repeat this on the other side. Now I've done a lot of this on the floor. It does work great on the floor. But the spray does kind of dissipate out, and so if you're going to do it on the floor, be sure you put it like on a sheet out first, and then spread your batting down, and then your backing. And I have actually pinned the batting to the floor so that it didn't move, or tape it. So now let's see, I'm going to spray this side. It's better if you spray the whole thing before you pull it down. You really don't want this spray on your carpet, so you want to be sure you protect if you're going to be close to where you're spraying. All right, now you can see we've got it down pretty good now. I'm going to kind of protect myself here. The other thing that I do, I use a lot of freezer paper, and so you could lay a piece of freezer paper across here as you fold this over to protect your fabric, and maybe put it around to the sides, or even newspapers on the floor. I wouldn't use a newspaper where you're going to spray because the ink comes off. So now as I can pull this little little tape away and come up here, then you can see that got it all secured nice and straight. And now if there's a, so you can kind of check for loose spots. It's really hard to sew the cuddle fabrics with the slick background, with the slick backing, because it slides as you're trying to put the back and the batting together. But where they're fused down tight, it works out great and they stay flat and tight. Now that I've got this all nice and flat, I can just take it to the table and I can use my rotary cutter and mat, and I can square it all up. This is a pretty simple process. It's pretty easy to do. Sometimes, you know, if you get a crinkle on the back that you're concerned about, just peel it off a little ways and then just strip it back down. But then when you get ready to sew, you want to be sure that you have it all cut off square so that you're able to get your strips straight. So that's the first step, not too hard. Now you're on your way to starting your strips. So go to the row by row section and we'll show you how to start.